networker is like a great interviewer.
I'm huge on authenticity, guys. It's a big part of my message.
Claim your local listings and don't get caught paying someone for your local listing.
If you want to be successful, you got to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
And when in doubt, give to other people and don't expect anything in return. But in giving to other people and helping them, it almost always comes back.
It's using the power of partnership, creating trusted partner networks to work with you to make your company be an offer more than just you.
They've done 90% of the work. It's your job to do the last 10% to meet them in the middle.
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning. All right, guys, welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by A Advanced Septic Services and CR Gutters. My name is Galen.
I'm Joe.
And we're coming at you virtually from the BD local studios in Tacoma, Washington. So thanks for joining us today. So Joe, for new listeners and viewers, can you tell everyone how our podcast came to be?
Absolutely. So it first started off as a Facebook group page where we wanted to bring different, really just businesses together to kind of communicate with one another, ask questions, share tips, kind of brainstorm with one another. And that kind of just morphed into the podcast, being that we're a marketing company. We get all kinds of questions asked of us, not just related to marketing, but just in business as a whole. And so we wanted to bring on different guest speakers to talk about kind of all topics related to business. And we've done video and social media and content marketing and marketing in general. And then we've had on like body language coaches, posture for working at home. We've had on a few different book authors. So it's just kind of bringing different guest speakers to add value to our audience so that they can learn something and implement it in their business.
So our last episode, we had Chris Chavez from Chavez Creative. Joe, what was one of your takeaways when Chris was on our last episode?
Sure. This was an aha moment for me. Mm-hmm. So we do videos on Facebook to kind of promote us. But one thing I always forget to do is to give our contact information at the end of videos. So to me, that was just the aha moment. If I'm gonna push content out and I want to get some sort of feedback in return, I have to give them like how they can reach out to us.
Right. And just video is the future of social media. As you see it now on your Facebook, Instagram feeds, people interact with video more than text content. So there. So before we get going on our podcast, our Valor Cares initiative is something we're really proud of. Can you share some info on that, Joe?
Yeah. So Valor Care started last April in the beginning of the pandemic, and we wanted to give back to businesses locally and then now nationwide. And what a better way to do that than to give away free website builds. So we just, people submit their information to us. We have a committee of people, and we just go through and pick different winners, and we do about 2 website builds every single month.
Awesome. So we'll put more information on that. And now we are so pleased and honored to have our guest, Bob Burg. We're talking about giving, value, and everything. What a perfect guest to kind of share that feel of the giving kind of mentality and everything. So Bob Burg, can you give a formal introduction to our guest, Joe?
Sure. For over 30 years, Bob Burg has been successfully showing entrepreneurs, leaders, and sales professionals how to communicate their value and accelerate their referral business. Although for years he was best known for his sales classics, Endless Referrals, it's his business parable, The Go-Giver, co-authored by David Mann, that has created a worldwide movement. While part of a 4-book series, The Go-Giver itself sold more than 1 million copies and has been translated into 30 languages. It was rated number 10 on INC magazine's list of the most motivational books ever written and was on HubSpot's 20 most highly rated sales books of all time. Bob is an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. He is also an unapologetic animal fanatic, which we could see when he drinks his coffee there, and served on the board of directors of Furry Friends Adoption and Clinic in his hometown of Jupiter, Florida. Please welcome Bob Burg.
All right. Thanks, Bob. So,
hi, Galen. Hi, Joe. Great to see you both.
Yes, sir. So let's get into it. So we want to get to know a little more about you, Bob, the individual. So we ask 3 questions of our guests all the time. And I'll start. So what are some lessons learned as an early entrepreneur?
Well, I'd say that that whatever your skill set is only part of the business, that you need to learn the business part of the business. Michael Gerber probably was best known for that with his E-Myth series, where the entrepreneurial myth was that just because you have a certain skill set, that qualifies you to run a business, where there's a lot more to it than just the product or the service or yourself, whatever it happens to be. So that was really the first part. And I had to learn that same thing, because there were a lot of things I didn't want to do that were not in my strength zone, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to know how to do what it takes to run a business holistically.
Nice.
So then what is the best piece of advice that you have been given?
I would say this was from close to 40 years ago. And I was in sales at the time. It was actually before I had my own business, but it's the principle that I believe I've used in running my own business. And I'd been in sales for a couple of years. I'd done well, but I was in a real slump. And a gentleman who worked at the company where I worked, he was not in the sales department. I think he was an engineer or something. And older guy, I didn't know him well, but he was retired soon after. But he was one of these people who, and I think we've all known people like this, he didn't say a whole lot, but whenever he did say something, it was always very profound.
Right.
And so I think he recognized me as being like Joe, who I would later write about with John David Mann, as the main character of The Go-Giver, the protege, who was that up and coming, ambitious, aggressive, real at it, but very frustrated salesperson,
right,
whose focus was not in the right place. And so he said to me, Burg, he was a last name kind of guy. He said, Burg, can I give you some advice? And I said, yes, please do. I need it. And he said, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target is serving others. Now, when you hit the target, he said, you'll get a reward, and that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, he said, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It ain't the target itself. Your target is serving others. And what this said to me was that great salesmanship is never about the salesperson. Or great entrepreneurship is never about the entrepreneur, right?
Right.
Great salesmanship or great entrepreneurship is never about the product or service, as important as those are. It's not what it's about. Great salesmanship, great entrepreneurship is about the other person. It's about those people whose lives you're trying to bring immense value to. It's about those people whose lives are better because you are part of it. And I think that when we approach sales, when we approach entrepreneurship from that viewpoint, from that premise, if you will, I think then we're really 9 steps ahead of the game in a 10-step game.
Right. Because that's mostly, it's not changing your skill set, like you say, but it's a fundamental mindset, right? Kind of like a core building value. Like I'm not going to change my process on how I sell. For your experience, you were successful but frustrated. A lot of salespeople, entrepreneurs, we qualify for that, right? We're good at what we do, but just kind of frustrated. But that simple mindset, as the book says, just could be really a pivotal moment, right? So. Yeah.
Because I think most sales organizations coming from a sales background, that's what they push. You're only as good as your last sale versus providing that value to to people instead.
Right. Exactly.
So then being that we're a marketing company, why is marketing your business so important?
Well, it's really where that connection with the potential customer is formed, right? So, the marketing can never really stop, and it never really does stop, even if you wanted it to. What you want to do, though, is proactively do what you can to create that brand and make sure that relationship is always there, that you're always in the mind of the prospective customer and client, as well as your current customers and clients, who are the ones who can refer you to others. So marketing is an immensely important part of the process.
Awesome. I emailed Bob for a motivational quote, and this is what he sent me, which goes into just kind of what he said. Money is an echo of value. So I saw in one of your podcast clips, money is thunder to values lightning. The value must come first. It's kind of the premise of the Go-Giver. So can you share why that quote is profound to you, inspires you?
You think about it. And when I was speaking at sales conferences, which I did for 30 years, now I still speak at them, but now it's only virtual. So
Right, yeah.
At 63 years old, I've taken myself off the road totally. So I no longer will say, hey, when I speak but when I used to speak at sales conferences, I could be in a room in front of 1,000 salespeople, and I would start out by saying the following: nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Amen to that.
Right.
So,
No one's going to buy from you because you need the money or you have a mortgage payment. No one's going to buy from you because you're a nice guy, nice gal, nice person. They're going to buy from you because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And in a free market based economy, which we live, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one is forced to do business with anyone else. Well, in that type of market, they're only going to buy from you because they believe it's in their best interest to do so, and that's the only reason they should buy from you or from anyone else. Now, this is great news for the person, the entrepreneur or salesperson with the go-giver mindset that says, shift your focus, take it off of yourself and place it on them. There's nothing about that that's self-sacrificial or martyrish or woo-woo or magical or mystical. No, it makes logical sense. They don't care about you and they may care about you if they're a nice person, but they don't care in terms of buying from you, right? They care that you can help them. So you've got to take your focus off them. The focus has got to be on the value you're providing them. And only when that's the case, and they understand that and they agree, are they going to buy from you? And then the money is there for you to receive. But the value must come first. The money you receive is simply a very natural result of the value you've provided.
Awesome. Great stuff. So cue image 5. Come to the part of our podcast, our CR Gutters Did You Know segment. So it's the Go-Giver, but we wanted to show the books. Bob, as we have 4 books kind of in the series, right? We're going to focus more on the Go-Giver, but we'll put information on our links for the links to the books and everything. So the premise of the Go-Giver, shifting focus from getting to giving, right?
Understanding that when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others.
Right.
Yeah.
The 5 laws of stratospheric success. So I'll read these 5 and then we'll break each one and get your quick thought.
Sure.
There's some listeners and viewers who haven't read the book, have heard it. So we're so glad to have you, first person, give a, straight from the author's mouth. He's talking to you guys directly right now. So the law of value, the law of compensation, the law of influence, the law of authenticity, and the law of receptivity. So this first law, the law of value, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. So talk to our audience, Bob, on that law.
Yeah, and when you first hear it, it kind of sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. More value than you take in payment. So we simply have to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, experience, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to someone that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you make a very healthy profit very quickly. It's the accountant you hire to do your taxes. She charges you $1,000. That's her fee or her price. But if she saves you $5,000, if she saves you countless hours of time, if she provides you and your family with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly, she actually gave you well over $5,000 in value.
Right.
Exchange for $1,000 fee. So you feel great about it, right? She also made a very, very healthy profit, which she should. So in any free market-based exchange, there should always be at least two profits, the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each one comes away better off afterwards than they were beforehand.
And I will have to say, for Joe and I, when I first read the book, and I guess it almost 3 years ago to the day, our fundamental shift is we wanted to give more to our local community. I mean, we have this website giveaway during the pandemic, but we wanted to educate more. So 80% of what we do is educating businesses without selling. And that shift of providing more value, and we're not worried about selling people, but then that comes after when people kind of trust you and you show your value to like our local community and everything. So but this law resonates with me a lot.
And especially like with the podcast, everyone I talk to about the podcast are like, well, what's the goal of it? Are you trying to make money? Are you like, what's the goal? And the goal has always been for us, it's just more about giving and educating people and bringing in guests that can educate them on different topics to provide more value to them and implement the things that they're learning into their own business.
Well, and this naturally results in people feeling good about you. They know you, they like you, they trust you, and they eventually want to do business with you, talk to others about you, your personal walking ambassador. So, yeah, exactly.
Awesome. The law of compensation. So your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So take it away, Bob.
So where law number 1 says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us that the more people whose lives you touch, whose lives you impact with that exceptional value, the more money with which you'll be rewarded. So as Nicole, one of the mentors in the story, the CEO, explained to Joe, the protege, the law of value represents your potential income, right? Your potential value. But the law number 2 represents your actual income. Because remember, exceptional value is great, but significant reach is what allows you to impact so many people's lives. And that's where income comes in.
Awesome. The law of influence. Joe, would you like to read that one?
Sure. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first.
Yeah. And again, counterintuitive when you first hear it, maybe even Pollyanna-ish, right? You know, your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Well, let's check that out. And by the way, as a qualifier, when we say place the other person's interests first, we do not mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial. Not at all. It's simply understanding, as several of the mentors explained to Joe, that the golden rule of business, the golden rule of sales, the golden rule of entrepreneurship is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And as you guys know, there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way of eliciting those feelings toward you in others than by genuinely moving from an I focus or me focus to an other focus, looking to, as Sam, one of the mentors, advised Joe, make your win all about the other person's win.
Right. That's awesome. The law of authenticity. The most valuable gift you have is to offer is yourself. Yourself. So
Deborah Davenport, who was the mentor in that part of the story, she explained that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are indeed all very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you, as we like to say, show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, well, people feel very comfortable with you. They feel good about you. They feel safe with you. Why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting, right? And this is when those know, like, love, trust feelings really, really develop. So it's good business to come at it authentically. When people don't, it's typically because they don't have the self-confidence to do so. They may not recognize and embrace the value that they bring to the marketplace. And, you know, we all have our unique assets of value, but it can be very difficult to embrace them because we all see the world from our own viewpoint. And, we don't know that what we do is so special. Whereas we think, oh, if we can do it, everybody can do it. That's not the case. And that's why it's important to have coaches like the two of you who can help people to be able to really recognize and embrace that immense value they provide. So while we need to know our strengths and our weaknesses, we need to be able to lead with our strengths. But to lead with them, we've got to be able to understand and embrace them.
What I like about that too is as I relate to, my marketing brain never turns off. So what I like about that, when you're producing like video content, a lot of people don't jump on video because they don't like the way they look, they don't like the way they sound. But what I do when I do Facebook Lives is I don't watch it at the end. I just share it because people resonate with me as a person, and they get all my flaws, all my stuttering. They see it all, and I think that people, when you're doing video marketing,
real.
when you're real,
they relate. Your vulnerability is relatable to a lot of people. So
yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. And I think this last one, Q image 12, the law of
receptivity.
There you go. Thank you.
It's a tough one to say.
It's a tough one. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving.
Yeah, this really means nothing more than understanding that, yes, you breathe out and you breathe in,
Mm-hmm.
not one or the other, right? You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving, you breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. Unfortunately, that's not the message we get from much of the world around us.
No, not at all.
Right. With many people, it's from, a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, and TV shows where the wealthy people are always portrayed as evil, horrible monsters, and the good people are always poor, but they're honest and they're happy and they're, this is what sells. And unfortunately, it is the message that we get. And you get it from the time you're a kid, and it gets into that unconscious below that massive part of the iceberg that is below the water. And it can be tough. It can really mess with a person's head. And that gives people negative messages about money, about prosperity, about abundance, about business. Mm-hmm. And so I really, because of this, I'm a big believer that it's important to study prosperity actively and proactively, because the garbage about it comes into our head all the time. So we really need to understand why. If you're focused on the giving of value to others, you've earned the right to receive. The key, though, is you've got to be able to accept it and receive it with gratitude and not unconsciously push it away. So first, you've got to be able to be conscious mm-hmm. of any money issues that you might have. And most people do. And this is the one that 99.9% of the people who read the book will say, that's the toughest one with me, receptivity. Mm-hmm. And again, that's why, although we cover it in the book, to really go deep into it, I think it's important to study prosperity experts such as, Randy Gage and Bob Proctor and Sharon Lechter and Ellen Rogan and Ken Honda and some of these people who they blog about it, they post about it, they speak on it, they write books on it, they have videos on it, and really get to learn that internal aspect of why prosperity is a good thing that you should embrace.
We'll put the 5 laws of stratospheric success right before we went on. We had the same question we wanted to ask you. So I'll have Joe go ahead and ask it.
What is your favorite law?
My favorite
Pick one.
Mine's the law of influence. But what I was going to say was that while it's my favorite law, it's not the most important law, because if you took any one away mm-hmm. from the 5, it would be like taking a leg off a chair. Mm-hmm. It's not going to stand. So yeah, that the law of influence is kind of the one I relate to the most and the one I love the most. But it's not necessarily any more important than one of the others.
All right, so we're going to go off script. We're going to go Bob Burg Unplugged. So, all right, so we have the Joes out there, right? The aspiring entrepreneurs, or maybe they're established, but everyone's still aspiring.
Sure.
They're watching this, and I want you to look in the camera and share 1 or 2 things, like a message for them as it relates to the book. Like, they haven't read the book, let's say. What are 1 or 2 things that you could share with those Joes listening, watching right now?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to this: keep learning. Okay, learn how to do the business, the business, the product service part. Learn how to do the business part. As we talked about earlier, I don't think it ever stops. We can keep learning, keep reading, read constantly. Watch videos, go to seminars, do whatever it takes to keep learning and keep building. And then I would say this is just realize that when it comes right down to it, it's trust that is going to be the big difference maker. And the amount of trust that you have is your biggest commodity. That's your biggest commodity. And it's really, Aunt Elle, you might recall in The Go-Giver Leader, she was the mentor, and Ben was the protege in that book. And she said, Ben, what you have to offer, you give least of all through what you say, though, of course, what you say is important, right? What you say and how you say it's very important, but it's the least important. More important is what you do, but most important is who you are. And that's where character comes into play. Character comes from an old Greek word meaning scrape or scratch. It came to mean an engraved marking and eventually a defining quality. And when you think about it, what is character but the sum total of all one's qualities? That's their defining quality or their character. And when it comes to character, people of high character, if you've noticed, we tend to know where they stand. And they always stand for something. Now, that doesn't mean they don't make mistakes. They're human. Of course they do. It doesn't mean they don't course correct. Absolutely they do. And it doesn't mean they're not flexible on strategy. Sure they are.
Right.
But when it comes to those values-based decisions, they are immutable, immovable, and unchangeable. And that's why we respect them. That's why we trust them. And as I think it was Stephen Covey who said, it takes a time to build trust, but it can be lost in a moment. And so we always want to understand that, character is who we are, and it's who we are that dictates what we say and what we do. So we always want to act congruently with our values and congruently with high character.
That's awesome stuff. Now, part 2 to that is the mentors out there, the Pindars, that type of person. There's probably a lot of people who at a point in life, they want to share, you recognize an up and comer, and that's why we always believe in networking. But to those people out there, what are 1 or 2 things you could say to them? Whether they step in the game, they're doing it, is there a way to do it better? What could you say to those mentors out there?
Well, mentorship and taking on a protege to mentor is very important, because you can really help someone to cut their learning curve time and make a big difference in someone's life. I think it's also important for the mentor to know that you will learn a whole lot from the protege. Yeah. And so it's great to do that, even if it was just to keep yourself sharp. And that's not why most mentors mentor. They do it because they really want to help someone else and share their experience. I mean, it's a very human thing, right? But as a mentor, you're in a position where you'll keep learning, and you'll learn a lot from your protege.
Absolutely. So one last question I got to know, as an author, what's your most favorite book that you've written?
It's a book called Adversaries into Allies, which is a how-to book on people skills, which is, what I believe is the differentiator between the successful person and the ultra successful person, right? The ability to work effectively with people. And we would say, and of course we have genuine influence, which is a parable in the Go-Giver series. And that parable is based on the information in the book Adversaries into Allies.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we just want to thank you for your time, Bob. We can go on forever, but we won't be that selfish at this point. But just honored to have you on. Before we go, talking about value and giving, one more plug, Joe, on our Valor Cares initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are a business owner and you're just in need of a new website, or maybe you're starting out a company and you need a website to, get your business going, we love to have you apply. You could do that through our website, through our podcast website, askvalormasterminds.com. And then there's a page on there for Valor Cares.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. On behalf of our sponsors, A Advanced Septic Services and CR Gutters, my name's Galen.
I'm Joe.
Thank you, Bob, for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington, thanks, guys. Take care.